We had to wait for the tide to release us from Alnmouth, so it was getting close to midday by the time we left. It was bugger all wind and the weatherman was predicting sea mists for the next few days. The coast here is scattered with rocks, so I decided to play it careful. We motored a few miles north to Craster, home of the smoked kipper, but I'm not a fan of smoked kippers.
Right, this is Craster, and you can see it's very famous for smoked kippers, and you can see the smoke coming from the smokery. And up here is Dunstafnage Castle, which is supposed to be fantastic. So we're going to try and get in there and see if we can find a nice place to settle down for the night, because it's supposed to be a brilliant little village. That's the plan.
The entrance is a bit of a stinker. This beacon marks a massive rocky outcrop. The harbour is one of the reasons why I love my country. It's the layers of history that I find so alluring. This one plaque links back to British political and military meddling in Afghanistan, India and Tibet. This is what it says. Craster Memorial Harbour, constructed in the memory of Captain John Charles Pullin Craster, 46th Punjabis, who fell in action during the Tibetan expedition, June 1904. He took a deep interest in the provision of a harbour at Craster, and his brothers and sisters chose this way of perpetuating his memory, AD 1906. Look him up. He led an exciting life in the military, shot through the heart at the age of 33 when leading an assault on a Tibetan monastery. I didn't even know we had a Tibetan expedition in June 1904.
Now I have to hope that there's no rocks underneath the boat. I don't think there are. It's pretty smooth actually. I've just spoken to a sailor, who's this chap here, who's sailed up here for many years, and he says that it's a great place to go down. The boat will go down fairly level, and it's soft sand, so that'll be great. So this is Craster Harbour, close to low tide. The boat behind us is aground. We are thoroughly aground. There are rocks in the middle, so be careful lads. But generally, for a bilge keeler, there are no real rocks to worry about. There's one or two odd ones. That's not a good one. And the smoke is from the kipper smokery. Doesn't smell of kippers, it just smells of smoke. Be alright. This little place here is called Liverpool Landing. And for the first time, obviously getting towards Scotland, because that is called Muckle something. So the Scottish language is starting to appear. This set of rocks hardly ever covers. It was covered today because it's spring tide. This lot covers, which is why it's got a beacon on the end. In my experience, fishermen are seldom jolly. And those guys ain't fishermen. Not professionals anyway. So my plan is to sail this morning when the sun comes up, past the castle, to the Farne Islands, hang around there, and then when the tide turns and starts coming in, we'll go into Linda's farm and find a nice quiet spot on the mud, because I'll sleep better on the mud. I think the wind's supposed to chip up a little bit over the next couple of days, so if we can find a nice quiet spot where we can walk, that'd be great. Well, Caister is okay. However, the sea is really calm, and still you can see the waves are coming in here. You can see that. It's not a very well designed harbour. So it's a lumpy, rumpy old night. This is a buoy called Newton. I was a bit worried because I thought couldn't see it, and I was thinking I'd got the coordinates wrong, but clearly I haven't. The GPS took me straight to it. Sadly, that means that the visibility is about a quarter of a mile. Sea houses in the mist here. .4 knots. We were just doing 8.2 knots spot speed. Pretty good.
The Farnes are a rocky outcrop just 3 miles from the mainland. In 600, St Cuthbert came here, and it remained the home of the Holy Nutters until the 1500s, when they eventually saw the light and threw in the towel. The first lighthouse was built here in 1773. It's the location of the most hyped-up sea rescue on record. Grace Darling has gone down as a heroine. She was the daughter of the lighthouse keeper here. One stormy night in September 1838, a paddle steamer called Forfarshire ran aground on Big Hawker, one of the rocks. 50 people were drowned, but half a dozen survivors stood on the rocks. Grace and her father rowed out to the island, a short 1 mile journey in a 21-foot rowing boat. The survivors jumped aboard and they rowed back to the lighthouse. That was it. The public got very excited and they had a whip round for her. £700 was raised, including £50 from the sentimental old twerp Queen Victoria. At the time, her father, not Queen Victoria's, obviously the lighthouse keeper, was earning £70 a year. No less than 7 portrait painters came out to the island to capture her likeness. Over the years and decades, this has been super hyped into a story of a brave young woman. She has a tomb suitable for a king, and she has statues and even a beer named after her. Her father, William, who was a brave old bloke, hardly gets a mention in the story, but that's the burden of dull-looking middle-aged men, all but invisible. However, Grace Darling aside, the Farnes are a delight on the right day. When the wind is being kind, there are lots of places to anchor and good shelter at Craster, Sea Houses or Lindisfarne. They're only a short sail away. 6,000 grey seals plus around 250 bird species as residents or visitors. The main occupants are 70,000 puffins who use rabbit burrows for nesting. Incidentally, they're not quite as nice as you think they are. They aggressively drive the rabbits out of their burrows, which the rabbits dug using vicious nips from their powerful beaks. There are lots of trip boats come out from Sea Houses. The tourists look happy enough, but the sound of the engine means that they never really get to hear what the islands sound like, which is such a shame.
Okay, 3.5 metres, and you can see the bottom. You can see the plants coming up to see us from the bottom. I am in clear water, properly clear water for the first time. I assume in Scotland it will get even better, won't it?
We dropped into Sea Houses for the night and to buy provisions.
I think so. We're going here somewhere. Yeah. On one of these ladders, I guess. Diving is big business here. Well, big business. A couple of boats. Herring sheds. And when the fleet was in, Dutch fleet used to come in, following the herring down the coast. This place would be full of herring boats. And the town full of Scottish girls processing the herring. Sea Houses Town Centre, gift shop, farm gifts, toys, chip shop.
Nowhere else can be selling crap now, is there?
Chip shop. Not nice. Black Swan Inn and the Schooner Inn. There would have been an awful lot of pubs here to deal with the herring fleet that came in. The local stone is pretty pale, but all the old houses are blackened with smoke from the kipper smokeries that used to be here. It's quite a good idea in this town. Somebody's decided that they've put lots of old fishing paraphernalia out on the walls. Works pretty well.
Apparently, the sea houses thing, isn't it?
What, hanging bits of old wooden stuff on them? Yeah. Here though, Trotter's Family Bakers. Stotties. Large white stotties, large Cavalier stotty, large wholemeal stotty, large granary stotty. One of the sailors said that Geo, Scott and Son do the best pies. Pie. Pastry's perfect. Lots of pie filling, all meat.
It's a really good pastry.
It's really good pastry and good contents too.
Yes. 5-star pie.
Perfect pastry and lots of filling, yeah, well done, good job. I'll put you on YouTube, man.
Oh, too much, yes.
Very good. Well done. Nice full little sandcastle. Yeah. Yeah. It's got no head. Its head's gone. Oh, you're criticising. I think it's pretty good. Good one. gloom is lifting by the minute. Shoreston, and then next one is Swedman. Holy Island, thought about this for a long time, been a target of mine for years. Here we are, and the light is as dull as ditch water. Bummer. Leading lines. Yeah.
There are thousands of seals living here, and they're well used to sailing boats.
I think the seals are more or less following him out, actually. That is the seal colony, and this is the channel that leads into the sand flats. And they like to sit there because it's out the wind and in the sun. The tide has turned, so fairly soon, en masse, they should move down this narrow channel. They're hesitating, aren't they, before they come past?
And they're all going down under.
Never seen so many wild mammals in my life. Certainly not in the UK could you see so many wild mammals in one place. Yeah, that's why they can be so high for such a long time. And it's the big ones who can do it for longer. Here's a tip for all you creek crawlers. The seals don't like very shallow water. So, if there's enough room for a seal to be happily swimming, then there's enough room for you to sail. So, in the past I was following pot markers, now I'm following seal heads up. What is the passage, the channel here?
The 1,000-acre island is linked to the mainland by a causeway which is covered at high tide. We ended up spending several days around Lindisfarne, and the place was an absolute treat. It has a castle, a church, and the delightful ruins of a priory. The God-botherers were, and I'm afraid still are, as thick as thieves here. It's a very spiritual place, you see.
This is St Cuthbert's Island. So he sat here thinking great thoughts. .1. Substantial navigation marks. Pretty substantial navigation marks, I'd say. Yeah. Very interesting cat you have there.
Yachts can anchor in deep water just off the main island, or those that can take the ground can drop a hook in the Ouse, a slightly muddy bay which is sheltered from every direction but the southeast. In the summer, at low tide, it's crawling with tourists, but when the tide comes in, they all scarper back to the mainland and it goes quiet again and is left to the 180 full-time residents. It must be an amazing place in the dead of winter. The weather was not great to us, but we eventually moved the boat closer to the shore so that we were aground most of the time.
Now, I used to think that a westerly would be perfection, but actually, looking at that rudder and prop, I'm beginning to think they look a bit vulnerable. And then there's one of these. Now, I've come across these quite a bit on the web, but I've never seen one in the flesh. Catamaran, but I don't know what it is. Probably motors quite well. It's got a sink, so you could kind of camp on it quite successfully. It's got a lot of locker space. And that's tiller. Very odd thing. foul. Here on the island they have these sheds made out of upturned boats, which are fantastic shapes. And you just get these kind of film sets laid down. I mean, it looks like a film set. You couldn't make it up. Old tyres, bit of conveyor belt, fishing nets, pile of ropes, and a brand new life belt. Boy, I mean, it is just authentic. And the good thing about a boat as a shed is, first of all, it looks great. Secondly, it's a good shape for shedding water. Sadly, they're all clinker built, so that is the worst possible for holding water onto the boat and making it rot, which is why they've developed this technique for covering them. Some done well. Just imagine how good a concrete or fiberglass boat would be as a shed roof. Magpie. It's a shame you're dying, aren't you, Magpie? Okay, souvenir. This is Marsden, because it kind of reminds me of the cliff with the grotto at the bottom, and it came from Marsden. This is from Blythe. Don't know why I picked it up, just a piece of flint. This is from Amble, came off the beach where Jill and I had wine and a fire made out of sea coal. This is from Craster, just because it's a weird stone. And this appears to be a spar, properly made spar to hollow, bound to a heavy piece of metal, and that's from Holy Island. One day, the only mementos there will be of this trip will be some films and these items. Castle's gone. There was a castle over here. Disappeared into the mist. I think today is going to do just what the weatherman said, which is misty, moisty, bucket down with rain at 1 o'clock. Here comes my wife. There are lots of wives who wouldn't put up with that. Poor woman hasn't had a shower for 3 days now. It rained from midnight till about 7, stopped for 3 hours, and then maybe 4 hours, and then started again, and hasn't quit. harbour is onions, peps, and garlic. 3 different vegetables and quiche things.
Lindisfarne has been a holy site for over 1,000 years. In the course of this journey, I've been to some deeply spiritual places, but I've never encountered somewhere like this. The way the population ebbs and flows with the tide, its position of being half mainland, half island, the way the mists hang around, the seals calling and the bells tolling, the ancient stone walls and the buildings, and their even older stories, all added up to more than the sum of the parts. The diary tells us that we were here for 5 days, but it felt like 2.